Recording in progress. Okay. It's going to be a great time.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Does that sound interesting and cool?
Damn, I look so good.
All right, let's just wing it. You ready?
Cool.
4 hours later.
Dear Tech.
That made me tired.
Oh, laughing hurts. Cut.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back. And today we're asking, Dear Tech, what's up with quiet quitting? So, Fran, what is up with quiet quitting?
What is up with quiet quitting? That is a damn good question. To be honest, this is like a term the first time I heard this term, I don't know if it was like start of this year or end of 2021 or like sometime in 20. It's like a newer term for me that I didn't know much about, and I just started hearing like more and more in conversations and articles and on LinkedIn. So I'm definitely still learning, but through like the conversations we've had and the research we've done and what we've seen, my interpretation, which is always evolving, of the term quiet quitting is an employee basically being like, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do the exact requirements of my job, and that's it. Cap, cut, top, there's a ceiling. I'm not going above and beyond. I'm not fucking raising my hand for more. I'm not staying late. That's it. I'm going to do my job, and that's it. No more.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? Like when I heard of quiet quitting or when it came about, it sounded like a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you dig into it, it's just doing your job.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I understand for some companies, well, it depends, right? For some companies, it's like, okay, like we would like most people not to be doing the bare minimum or just their jobs, obviously, right? But for other companies, it's like, oh my God, our culture is going down the drain. It's like, no, you just have people that are having boundaries. That's essentially, setting boundaries for their job. But I just, depending on who you ask, you're going to get a different answer in terms of like, is it a bad thing or is it a good thing or is it neither? But yeah, you're right. I think the pandemic basically brought on the terminology. I think there's definitely been people that have been doing it for a while. There's definitely people that are like, I'm going to do what I do. But the pandemic definitely brought a higher volume of it, and also the term came about, right?
Right.
And
I was just thinking about like the two terms too, kind of broken up too. Like quiet is just like you're not yelling about it, like you don't have qualms, you're not speaking up, you're not talking about it, you're just like doing your thing and not being loud about it. But then the term quitting is like almost like you're giving up or you're stopping or you're literally giving your notice. So it's like kind of an interesting term.
And that's why I suspect, and I could be 100% wrong, but that the term was given by like someone from the company or from like a management
who
position.
Came up with this?
Yeah, because
let us know if you were the one who came up with the term quiet quitting. Let us know.
Comment and then but be warned, because you're probably going to get some rude text messages or comments or whatever. No, but because I think is from a manager perspective or from a company perspective, somebody might look at someone doing the bare minimum, doing their job, and be like, oh, this person's on their way out, which might not be the case, right? They could just be like, no, I want to be here. It's like,
think of life outside of work.
It's like Jim Halpert, right? If we think of Jim Halpert versus Dwight Schrute from The Office.
I don't. Okay.
So
I don't know what you're talking about.
John Krasinski's character. Yeah, sure. John Krasinski's character in The Office comes into work, does his job, and then leaves. But then Dwight Schrute's character like lives for the job. Like he's like, I love it here. I want to do as much as I can. I want to be friends with the boss and all that stuff. So, that's the way I look at it, where it's there's nothing wrong with either of those things, right? Like if you want to progress, if you want to get, aggressive promotions, yeah, stay, put your time in. But if you're, setting boundaries is fine too. But I think, and when going back to the pandemic, when we were talking about it, it's like all of a sudden people found out what their lives would be like if they weren't workaholics, which I think a lot of America, the United States, a lot of us were regardless of how we felt about it, we were like, no, but this is what we have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pandemic came around, and whether you were laid off or if work slowed down or you went remote, especially if you went remote, you realized, oh, wait, I can like, oh, I have a break between two meetings and I can like play with my dog. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or like, whatever it may be. Um, we realized that life outside of work exists and that we can do our jobs, but also live our lives without picking one or the other.
Yeah, for sure. I think I don't necessarily, and we'll talk about this more later, I don't necessarily love the term quiet quitting. My interpretation of the intent of the term, I like am all for, but the term itself, I don't necessarily love. I think for myself, if we're talking about like setting healthy boundaries between work and life, because like not historically, previously, and I still do, like I identify so much with my job and not necessarily in a fully healthy, like balanced way. Um, but like earlier on in my career, I 100%, and I still am, but I 100% was that person who was staying later, like putting in crazy amount of hours. Like I was the workhorse, like I was going to get shit done. And like, that's how I was viewed. And I was proud of it. But at a certain point, you're going to fucking burn out. Like we're not limitless. Like, and I want a life outside of my job. So like for me, in terms of setting boundaries and like the kind of underlying meaning of quiet quitting, I think that process started for me personally before the pandemic. But I definitely think and can also see how for individuals in different circumstances, how 100% the pandemic escalated the embracing of quiet quitting and setting boundaries, and not as wholly identifying with your job. I think when our personal and professional lives were so like unceremoniously smushed together with us all working from home. But I definitely think it had a huge impact, but it's obviously everyone's different based on circumstance.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I don't like the term quiet quitting. And I think, but there's also, I think it should be differentiated. Like, I think quiet quitting is very specific in the sense of like, this is all I'm going to do. I think what you're talking about for yourself is you just set more boundaries, but like you still do more. And I know you, that's
Yeah.
why I can say this. You still do more than the minimum for your job.
Yeah.
But I think, and like, I think that it's a little different, but I also think going back to what you were saying before, some people realize that work doesn't have to be where they find fulfillment. And that's where that
Mm-hmm.
comes into. Because another thing, and it's something we'll probably touch on later, is about like if companies that don't want quiet quitting to be a thing in their company. Well, that comes down to like, are you giving purpose to your employee? Right. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of where that is. But I don't really want to jump into that right now. You mentioned a little bit, but how have you been, if you want to give an example for yourself, because you said you were very much not quiet quitting before, but you've kind of eased off. How have
Mm-hmm.
you been setting boundaries lately?
I decline calendar invites that are outside my core work hours.
Okay.
I literally say no. I've gotten better at saying no. I'm definitely a yes person. Um, so I've declined invites. I set like on the Outlook, I set the parameters on my core work hours. Um, it's really hard for me to say no. Like when I know I can do shit and I know I can impact stuff and I'm a people pleaser and I want to shine. Um, but I've honestly gotten like better about listening to my body, because I get like if I'm doing too much or burnout, you get fucking tired. So literally just like pausing before like my instant reaction of saying yes to someone when someone asks me for something or there's an opportunity to volunteer for something, pausing first and like taking inventory of my life. Do I have the bandwidth? Do I have the time? Do I have the space for this? And is it going to benefit me or those around me? So I think for me, in so many aspects, but specific for this too, um, being better about setting boundaries in line with quiet quitting, for my own wellness has been really important.
Mhm.
What about you?
So I will say that if I'm being honest, like I'm not yet in a place where I'm quiet quitting almost at all. I'd have set boundaries, and we've talked about it because I was someone when you and I started first working, I was like, it would be like 7 o'clock my time and I'd still be online. You'd be like, what are you doing online? And I don't do that as much. And I do have some boundaries that I set up. Like I'm online by 9 o'clock, which is when I should be working, but I don't take any meetings from 9 to 10. I try not to respond to Slack. That's for my time to like get ready for work. But at the same time, I am very much available all the time. And it's also because my goals are a little different, right? Right now, I see myself like I not only do I have, and I'm not saying I do this 24/7 or every day. And if I need some time to prevent burnout, like I will stop and I will slow down. But in general, I think for me, because I'm in that progressive, and I know you are too, but I think you're better at setting boundaries. And I think I'm still figuring myself out. Um, I haven't done as much as I probably should. Um, but and again, and I think I'm also hesitant because I really, really do hate the term quiet quitting. That's something that
Mm-hmm.
it's not a healthy term because we're not
Mm-hmm.
quitting. People that are quiet quitting aren't
Mm-hmm.
quitting. I think it's just setting boundaries. I think that's it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the bosses of the world really don't like that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where quiet quitting came from.
I feel like that the one other element of that I would be curious to hear your thoughts on is I think like depending on the person, quiet quitting could be like, okay, are you utilizing that term because you're like fed up with your job and you're just staying there for a paycheck? Like, is that how we're defining quiet quitting? Because that's not necessarily how I would define it. Um, but I think based on the individual, that's how they could define quiet quitting. If that
I
makes sense.
think it does. And I think that all of it is a spectrum in the sense that
Yeah.
you're going to have people, and I think a term that I used just yesterday, like you're going to always have the people that are like, that are, what did I say? Like not give a shitters. Like they don't
Mm.
care and they never
Yeah.
will. And that's probably the people that aren't doing well in your company and they don't want to be there and you probably don't want them to be there. There's that amount. But then there's the people that like, not that they're not give a shitters, but they will do like, again, the bottom end of quiet quitting, where it's like they're doing the bare minimum. They're doing exactly what you need them to do. And you need that. Everyone can't be a rock star. Everyone shouldn't be a rock star. And you shouldn't expect that from people, right?
Pause. I
Sure.
think those people can still be rock stars. They just have other priorities or interests or things that require their time.
No, I agree. I'm saying, but if I don't want to be a rock star, you shouldn't want me to be a rock star, right? Like if
Wait,
I don't
if
want to
you
be,
don't want me to be,
no, if
wait,
I don't want
repeat
to be a
that.
rock star. So if I don't want to be a rock star in your company, I just want to do
Uh-huh.
my job and leave.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be like, well, you should work harder and you should apply yourself more. If I don't want that for myself, you shouldn't want that for me, right?
As
Unless
long as
it's
I'm doing
like,
my job. Yeah.
yeah, but and again, someone might be like, yeah, but like, what if they have potential that they don't know about? Yeah, let them know about it. But as soon as if they know that they have potential and they're like, yeah, but this is just not what I want to do. It's the same as like if you were offered a promotion that you didn't want because you didn't want to put more time in. Don't force the promotion on the person, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
guide them, you can let them know, hey, like you can do this. And if they're like, yeah, I know I can do it, I don't want to right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take care of my parents. I want to spend time with my dog. I want to, you know, do whatever else they want to do. You as a boss or an authority figure can't want it more for them than they want it for themselves, right? So my
Mm-hmm.
thing is, if you have, let's say, let's break it up into 30 30 30, right? Let's say 30% of people or 33% of people are rock stars, 33% of people are middle quiet quitting people that are there that are doing their jobs, right? And then 33% of people, and the number's probably going to be less, but that don't care, right? Our job is to recognize people for what they want to be or what they are, and then help them do that the best way they can, in my opinion, right?
Mm.
So if someone
As the
is,
manager, you're saying,
as a
right?
manager, right, as
Yeah.
or as a company or whatever, as an authority
Mm-hmm.
figure. So if you have someone who is struggling but they want to do better, but they're struggling to do better, your job is to facilitate that. So let's say I'm a quiet quitter, whatever. I'm a middle person who wants to be a rock star. My job as a manager, as an authority figure, is to help them get there. But if I'm in the middle and that's where I want to be, and I'm getting my job done, and I'm hitting my KPIs, and I'm not causing any problems, and I'm not falling short, because there are companies out there that will replace that person, That'll be like, oh, this person isn't, staying late or giving their 110%. So we need to find more people like that. That's very unhealthy for work culture, right? And if someone doesn't want to be at your company, I mean, that's something for you to assess as well, and help them do that.
Yeah.
But
This
I
is a
just
little
think,
offshoot.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go you first.
Offshoot, but I'm curious how many people who've been presented with opportunities for promotion have declined them. So I feel like it's rare. There's someone that comes to mind back when I was at agency.
Same.
Who that individual was like fucking OG recruiter. She like everyone went to her for questions. She had an overflowing amount of knowledge, and from my understanding, she loved the role she was in. She didn't want to I don't believe she wanted to move into like formal management roles where she most definitely could have. So but I think that's rare.
So at my first agency ever, I quit and the manager at the time quit. And then the person that I had trained was basically the only one left, or someone else quit too. And they asked this person, do you want to be the manager? And he literally didn't take it because the pay wasn't enough. And he was like, no, I'll stay as a recruiter because you're not going to pay enough. That was it. Right.
Yeah.
And he said, like, if you pay me X, I'll do it. If you don't pay me X, I will stay as a recruiter. And that's what he decided to do. But I think outside of that, I know people that took the promotion, hated it, left the company, and went back to their previous role. I know two people who went from managers or directors back to ICs because they realized it wasn't for them. So I don't think it's common for sure, but I do think there's probably more people out there that took the promotion and decided it wasn't for them.
Yeah, which happened to me too.
Oh, really? Do you want to talk about it? Tell the listeners and viewers.
Do you want to talk about it? It was literally an agency. I moved into the account management role, and it was very much so like a sales capacity, and kind of a shortened down version of how I was feeling in my assessment. I felt like I was selling my soul in that role. It was just not for me. And then when I went over to Yahoo, I went back into an IC role.
But see,
which
that's
is individual contributor for anyone who's wondering about that.
Yes, IC is individual contributor. But I was going to say, so funny, and this is a different conversation, but I find it funny how in some agencies, sales becomes a promotion from recruiting, which I don't agree with. I think that, they're two very different jobs, right? They're very different skill sets. But that absolutely makes sense. Recruiting and sales are two different things. But when it comes to quiet quitting, so I think I said what I thought about that whole middle part. Like, do you agree, or do you think that I'm a little off, or should we push these quiet quitters to become like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm mostly in agreement. I think it'll be interesting to see like if a year from now this term is still utilized, or if it's just kind of a hot topic that's blown up this year. So I think that happens often. It's kind of more just like a fad term, but I think so. Like my personal opinion, one, I agree. Like I don't love the term. I don't think it's an accurate representation of the true meaning of what the label is covering. I also agree. I think at the end of the day, like everyone from an employee's perspective, everyone has to do what's best for them. If you don't love your job and you hate it there, but you're just trying to get a paycheck, I get it. If you are at your job and you like your job, it's a good job, but you're also just there to do the bare minimum, get a paycheck and go home and travel or take care of your family. You may not have the bandwidth or the space or the interest to go above and beyond and step outside your job description. And then there also are the people who like both of us, I definitely put us in that space, or who are raising our hands for more and stepping outside of it. And I think that's because we identify so much with our jobs. Whether that's good or bad is up to people's perception. But I think as I'm like talking through it, I don't even necessarily think there is like a good or bad. I don't think that's like the right question. I think it is. I think the how we define quiet quitting in the beginning, I think it's a fact. It's happening. It is what it is. And it really just comes down to, from an employer's perspective, are you aware of how your employees view their role, where they're at, what they're interested in, and then move forward based on that for whatever's best for them and your company.
So first I want to say, so everyone that's listening, if you could comment on a better term for the term quiet quitting, I would like that, because I'm curious to what people think. So what you were saying about good or bad. So I have a weird, and I don't know if I feel this way, but I'm asking you about it, is that, do you think that people that are quiet quitting are in a job that they probably shouldn't be in? And now I don't mean that we should fire them, but I'm saying they're not happy in that job. That job doesn't fulfill them. It doesn't excite them. And they should probably be doing something that's more interesting to them. Because I think jumping in, if it's good or bad, I think it depends on the perspective, right? I think objectively, it's not bad. Objectively, they're doing the job that they're getting paid for, and that's it, and that's fine. We'll leave it at that. But I think from now, if you, that's objectively, but now if you look at it from both perspectives of a leader looking in or the person that's actually working, do you want to be in a job that you don't care about? Or do you want to be in a job where you just like, you don't want to do, and again, what we said about our setting boundaries, that's important. And we should never stop setting boundaries, even if we're aggressively looking for the promotion. But I think being a bare minimum person for yourself, like I wouldn't feel happy about that, right? I wouldn't be excited about a job where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do anything, or I'm just going to stop as soon as, whatever happens. And then from a leadership perspective, you want someone who's excited about their job, right? Now, if your thought process is, I want to, exploit this person, that's, oh, I'm gonna give you a promotion if you work 12 hours. That's BS. But from perspective of they're excited about what they're doing, that's a person that I want to invest into.
I hear you. I totally hear what you're saying. So I was actually listening to a Jay Shetty podcast yesterday, which I haven't finished. And some of the conversation there just came to my mind here. I would push back on your train of thought with saying, I think with the questions that you're asking me and the way your brain is framed in this conversation, you are assuming, or from the perspective that an individual identifies with their job as like a top priority, and like their occupation and career is like maybe top 5. And I think it just depends on how people identify. Like, I think, let's just say, like, I don't fucking know, like, say you're an accountant, you're good at your job, you like your job, but that's not how you identify with. Like, you are a father of 4, you and your you pick up your kids after school, you go hiking and on weekend trips with your family on the weekends, and like that's what gives you joy in life. So like, you're working, you care about your job, but that's not the be all end all to you, and that's not necessarily how you just identify. So I don't 100% agree with your questions.
I get that thought process, and I don't disagree with it. But now let's frame it into like tech. Like I feel like most people in tech, I'm using the word most. I don't know if I should say most, but I would say more than 50% of people in tech. That's how I'm going to frame most. So 51% counts too. But their jobs are pretty important to them, or like the way they make money is pretty important to them. Let's even not even go into that, right? So I feel like when we frame it for tech, there are people that would like their jobs to be something that inspires them. But if they've never, like, I'll even say with the job that I have now, the job that we have, until I got there, I was a quiet quitter galore, right? I was Mr. Quiet Quitting. I was able, because like my job didn't require me, as for me as a tech recruiter, getting 4 or 5 placements a month took not that much effort, right? And I was cool. I'm getting paid, doing my job, right? But then when I got to this job, it started feeding me. And because it fed me, I put more time back into it.
Mm.
Right. So I think, and I agree with what you're saying, because yeah, and especially the more invested or more family life that we have outside. Like right now, I'm a single guy with a dog. Like I have nothing better to do. I play video games and I play with my dog. Yeah. Excuse me. So it's different for me, and I 100% agree with that. But I do think that there are jobs out there that would turn quiet quitters into more engaged people with boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But let's jump back a little bit, because we were talking about business leaders, right? And we were also talking about, is quiet quitting good or bad? And I think we both kind of went into it. But let's talk about how do you think, either way, whether they think it's good or bad, how do you think business leaders should go about quiet quitting?
Damn, I feel like I could think about this for hours. If I was a leader where I was concerned, and I don't know if concerned is the right term, but if I was maybe aware of individuals on my team who were quiet quitting, as we define it, one, I would want to first make sure I had a clear understanding of their goals and their intent. And obviously, like you would need the assessment of if they're performing. So if they're meeting their OKRs or requirements, if they're fulfilling the requirements of their job. And then if they are, so that would be the first step. And then if they are, and I'm still aware that they are kind of in that quiet quitting bucket, I think I would want to identify why. So is it because you have other obligations and interests and commitment outside of work, and this is what you can give, which is cool because that's what I'm paying you for. So it's like a level of awareness. Like I'm paying you to be a recruiter. I'm not paying you to be a lead recruiter and mentor other people, or a program manager and build projects. Like that ain't in the job description. So although like historically, I think so often people are rewarded for going above and beyond and doing more. That's not what you're getting paid for. So one, level of awareness, understanding why and the intent. If it's a concern or question for that employee over they're not happy in their job, or they want to explore another route or another industry or function, like how can I help them do that? And then move from there. So I think it really just starts with one, are they fulfilling the requirements and needs of their job? And then two, a level of awareness and understanding around why they're in that space. Is there something I can do to help get them on the right path, put them in the right direction, if what they're doing right now isn't fulfilling their needs, goals, etc.
I love that. And I think so. One of the things that you said, I say that to my friends all the time. You don't get promoted for the job that you're doing. You get promoted for everything you do on top of the job that you're doing. Right. And I think that's a very
quick sidebar to that.
Sure.
I just have to chime in. Agency days, it was like a thing. They would say you have to do, and I think it still happens so often, you have to do the job before you get it, which this can be like a whole nother fucking episode, but I have like mixed feelings about that because I get it. Like you're showcasing the skill that you have to fulfill that next level. But then two, like you ain't paying me for it. And three, gender norms. I don't know the stat off the top of my head right now, but it goes down the tangent of like men. I'm going so far off track now, but men are like 85. I'm just throwing out stats. I don't think so. Men are like 85% more likely to apply to jobs that they're not fully qualified for.
Yeah.
And female, that percentage is way, way less. But I digress. I don't even remember my original intent of the conversation.
I do. Because I know, because I agree with, well, my thing is when it comes to like, you have to do the job before you get it. There's a big ass asterisk on that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do the manager job for 6 months before you recognize that I need to do it. I will do manager tasks from time to time to showcase that I'm capable of doing it.
Yeah.
But you can't be like, oh, you know what? And this happened to me at an agency I used to work at. It's like, oh, we just fired your manager. You're the most senior person here. Hold the fort down until we hire another one. But don't apply but you can't apply to the manager job. Right. That happened to me 3 times.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just like, okay, like I guess that's something I have to do. And whatever, it's fine. Right. And it's not fine. But for me, it was fine. But I think it comes down to, so that's getting your sidebar.
Thanks.
But when it comes to like in general for a leader, I agree with what you're saying about that. And for me, it's like, I think you need to be okay with people doing their jobs, but I think that as a leader, I want my entire team to be fully engaged. If I had my ideal scenario, everyone is a overachiever, right? Not from a manipulative point of view that I want to get the most out of them. That's a good energy to have of people that are excited about what they do, right? So if I look at a group of quiet quitters, you can't feel negatively about them because they're doing their job. But I think you should ask, just like you said, find out what's going on. Because I would say that most of the time when I've came across quiet quitters, it was because either the job wasn't challenging enough, or the company or the culture or whatever it wasn't giving them what they needed to feel that they wanted to do more.
Right.
So if your environment isn't made like that, if you're not empathetic with your team, if you're not transparent with your team, if you make it feel like what they think doesn't matter, then they stop trying to think and they just do what they need to do to get by. Right. So I think when it comes down to whether it's good or bad and what leadership wants to do, I think that first of all, like we've been saying this entire time, you're getting the job that you need done. But I think if you want engagement, you have to look at yourself. It's more than leadership has to look at themselves, because you're the reason your team acts the way they act, no matter what you think, right? Because a lot of leaders will, people that, if we see someone who's a quote unquote bad leader, I don't like to use that term, but someone has a team that's not doing what the leader would want them to do, it's because they're not listening. It's because they're not communicating. They're not being empathetic. So, at the end of the day, I think quiet quitting is actually, it has been great after the pandemic, because people are able to decide that they don't have to be miserable at work. But again, I do hate that term. So please give us a new term. Whoever's listening, find a new one.
Redefining quiet quitting. You said a term before and I can't remember it, about what you would call it.
I forget too.
Redefining quiet quitting.
Doing your job. That's what I call it. It's called doing your job.
Doing your job and no more, no less.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. And I keep wanting to stress that that's okay, because I've definitely heard a lot of people like talk negatively about quiet quitting, and a lot of articles we read, they make it seem like the person that's quiet quitting is like a lesser employee, which irks me a little bit, because you can hear that it's coming from like
true, but I don't think that's definitely not necessarily the case.
They could be lesser in like, maybe they're not like skilled and that's why they're not going above and beyond, but their value to the company is 1-to-1 to someone doing their job. If you want a recruiter and you get a recruiter and you don't get a recruiter / account manager / portfolio analyst or whatever, you can't be pissed about that, right? Or you can't be like, oh, this person doesn't have like leadership skills. Okay, they're a recruiter. That's what you hired them for.
Job description.
Yeah, or if you want a senior recruiter, then pay for a senior recruiter rather than a regular medium recruiter. But and something that we wrote down at the end of the day, like, quiet quitting comes down to your values. And I think that's huge in the sense that if you understand your team's values, then if they're going to be quiet quitters, or if they're going to be overachievers, or if they really don't care, if they're going to be not give a shitters. You'll know that beforehand. You'll know what to expect, and you can move in that direction off the bat.
Yeah, for sure. Like, hopefully you've managed enough to the point where you have a strong understanding of your team and their behaviors and what's important to them, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. So I guess we just, at the end of the day, we want to say, if you are a quiet quitter, we support you. We're with you. Power to you. Right. And it's, don't feel any type of way about that. You should be, doing your job and proud about it. However, if you are a quiet quitter and you don't want to be, and you say that you actually would like to do more, but you're not in that environment, look at what you're doing, look at your manager, talk to your manager, don't say, hey, I'm a quiet quitter, help me not be one. But look at, what am I doing? What is my manager doing? And what do I need to get to that next level if I want to, right? And like I said earlier, it comes down to your values, and it's like, what do you want right now? Someone can be a quiet quitter for a year. I had a friend of mine, he was a quiet quitter for 5 years at his job, and then he decided he wanted to go into IT, became a scrum master, and now he's already a manager after like 3 or 4 years, right? So 6 years of quiet quitting, and then 4 years of getting promoted every year. So
Wild.
It's up to you. It's always, and every answer is fine as long as you're happy, I think.
Yeah. And then adding from the management perspective, side of that leadership perspective, are you aware of your team? Are you aware of where all of your employees stand, where they're at, what they're interested in, what their goals are, and how that aligns with the needs of your business?
And I know we're quote unquote wrapping up. This might be a huge tangent, but I think one thing that should be really, really, like, we should do more of as leaders is, if someone's not a good fit for your team, but they'd be amazing in a different team, or they'd be amazing in a different function, can we start like working towards helping these people do that? And I know there are people out there that do that, but I think that's huge, because you can turn a quiet quitter into a rock star like that with the correct role. And I think that's exactly what happened to me when I was told about the role that I'm in now. It changed my life. Like, I can't even exaggerate the level of difference. Yeah. Right. I went from someone who was collecting a check, doing my job well. I was beating every single target, but the effort I was putting in was probably like 40%, to someone now who like gets energy from there. So if you're a leader, just like Fran said, listen to your team and be an advocate. Even if this person's going to end up leaving your team, whatever it may be, just be an advocate for your team. And that had nothing to do with quiet quitting, but I think that's something that we're both passionate about. But let us know your thoughts. Are you a quiet quitter? Why? What do you think about it? Do you care? Do you not care? Or do you want to care? What is it? What's the whole thought process for everyone that believes themselves to be a quiet quitter? And if you're not a quiet quitter, what are your thoughts on it?
Thanks, everyone.
Sincerely, Fran and Shubho.